meet another time with Coach Ayo, the enthusiastic tutor. And in today's tutorial, it happens to be the continuation of the course GST, formerly known as 101. And like I said earlier, it's going to be this week we are going to call it a wrap on this course. Okay, we are going to call it a wrap on this course because we have been able to cover a whole lot, and we are going to conclude on everything. Audio is confirmed. I think the audio is confirmed. So we are going to conclude on this course in this week. Okay, so that by next week we can start some other courses. All right, for 100 level first semester. And some of you guys have reached out to me, quite a handful of you have reached out to me asking a thing or two about the classes. All right, and a lot of you are wondering if it's just GST courses we will be taking. All right, basically, no, it's not just going to be GST courses. We're actually taking different courses from different departments, not just GST courses. But the thing is that we are actually starting with GST courses before we now move to other courses as well. And like I would usually tell you, like I would usually say, starting your classes early will be the best thing you can do for yourself as far as this semester is concerned. All right, starting your classes early will be the best decision you are making as far as the semester is concerned. All right, and before you know it, this is just 101, 111, which we'll be concluding with this week. We are moving to the next course, and from the next course, we are moving to the next one, and that's how it continues and continues until we finish all the courses, until we have gone through all the courses. And before you know it, we have started TMA submissions. And the good thing about TMA submission is that, irrespective of just taking classes, we can also support you with your TMA. And the thing is that for the TMA, it's not just going to be about submitting the questions alone. All right, we do collect questions for students too. The questions and answer of the TMA haven't helped secure 3030 and give it back to you to study with for your exam. So basically, it's a win-win for you. All right. So we have that as that. So without further ado, for those of us who might be interested, I think the network is not so good. I don't know. I think it's a situation. This is why we could start classes on Monday. I think let me switch back to my normal. Let me switch back to my normal. I'm like, okay. I think that was the reason why we could not start a class on Monday. The class is on Monday. That we have to shift it today, hoping that this network issue have stabilized a bit so we can access the classes properly. Like I usually say, it's very important you join the online community, all right, which is a private class, all right, and you must have heard me saying a thing or two about the private class. I keep hearing the way I keep emphasizing how important it is for you to join, because I know one thing. But for 100 level first semester, it is the time you need to build a foundation that will last through your 4 years and 8 semesters in the National Open University of Nigeria. And if you don't have this proper knowledge, this proper understanding of how things work and how things are being done now, you will not be able to build that solid foundation you need. Okay? And this is why we have the private class to ensure that you are properly brought to, all right, you are properly tutored, you are properly lectured, you have access to a whole lot of information. So it's not a thing of trial and it's not a thing of trial and error. All right, you have the right information at the right time, you do the right thing at the right time. All right, so we have that as that. And for those of us who feel that okay, let me give it a try, all right, or I would like to know more information about how this private class is, all you need to do is just send us a message. Go to our official website, coachayo.com, and when you check by the bottom left hand corner, you find the button that says chat with Coach Ayo. And when you use that button to, when you click on that button, it sends you direct an interface where you can either place a direct phone call and chat us up and send us a message through X, through TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram. So we have that as that. Now, without further ado, according to the thumbnail, it says note making. Okay. Now, for note making, it's basically opposite note taking. I mentioned of this in our last class. It is opposite note taking. And I said it that you don't take notes in the midst of distraction. All right. And distraction does not necessarily mean noise. Distraction goes a long way. Anything that is definitely going to give you tough time in taking notes, we refer to as distraction. All right, but that's not the point. The point here is that when we talk about notes taking, it's something you do quickly. It's something you don't have enough time to gather information. You just have to collect a bit of the information and pen down that you can go back to your study time, and during the study time, you can now develop those points you have collected. That is for note taking. But for note making, that process of developing what you have taken note of is what we call note making. Now you are taking your time. Here, you now do more of intensive studying. But note taking, you just pick points. Use abbreviations, you pick points. Quickly. Just like you're in a lecture room, you're in a meeting, you're in a seminar, you cannot begin to do research, you cannot begin to make references. You just have to take notes quickly as the speaker is speaking. You are taking notes. Just like you are watching the classes too. As I'm explaining, you cannot pause, you cannot take it so slow. You just have to be attentive and try to pick one or two points. So when we are done with the class, then you go over your notes and you begin to expand on those points. So that process of you going through your notes and expanding on those points is what we refer to as notes making. All right. So for notes making, it is the process of producing organized notes. All right. For producing organized notes yes, of producing organized notes. Okay. It is the process of producing organized notes. Now, these notes are made out of journals, all right, textbooks, articles, or other studying material during what? Your personal study time. All right. So you cannot be in a lecture room, you cannot be in a seminar, all right, or you are in a seminar and you want to make notes. It does not work because notes making takes time. All right, it takes time. When your tutor, your lecturer, your instructor gives you definition about a terminology. It's going to give you a very precise, succinct definition. Right, but that might not be clear enough to you. Personal study time or your study time, you now look into the definition that he has given to you. You now look for other definitions that looks very similar and hit the nail on the head and are succinct and he has given you, and you begin to expand on it in order for you to get a proper comprehension. So this is this is the deep. The other day, the other class, we said we have two categories of um, understanding. All right, as I said, understanding are different or comprehension are different. But you have the superficial. Note taking is the superficial level. When it comes to note making, we're talking about the deep. This is where you now begin to have proper understanding. This is where you get a comprehension of what was taught. Are we together? So we have that as that. So that is for note making. Now take a further step. Let's take a step further. So now, the purpose of note making, all right, is to help you, all right, have a better and a deep understanding of the notes you have taken. Like I said, it can be categorized or referred to as the comprehensive, all right, the comprehensive level of understanding. So we have that as that. Please, if you're on stream and you haven't liked the video, or you haven't said hi, or you haven't said hello, please, you want to ensure to do that right away. It's very important. This is one way of letting the platform knows that we are doing something and they can push our video to other students as well. Just as you can see, the comment section is busy now. Ensure you want to say hi, hello, and let's acknowledge your presence as well. Now, let's go back to it. It says here that what are the differences? Let's quickly consider the differences between note taking and note making. Okay, now for note taking, you do this while listening. You take note while listening. So we have note taking. Okay, so you do note taking while what? Listening. While you do note taking while listening. But for note making, you do it while reading or studying. All right, here, reading, excuse me, or studying. Now, for notes taking, information comes from a speaker. Okay, information comes from a speaker. Info from speaker. All right, but for note making, information comes from your written material. Info from written materials. Okay, also note taking is done quickly. All right, but note making is detailed. All right, it is more organized. So this is quickly done. Quickly done. Then we have organized and detailed. Okay, So let's add this last one. For notes making, it is done during, for notes taking, it is done during lecture. But for notes making, you do this in your private study. All right, you do this in your private study. So now we have that. So real quickly, I want us to consider, all right, when do you take notes and when do you make notes? At what point do you take notes and at what point do you make notes? All right, so you don't get to do the right thing at the wrong time. So let's quickly distinguish between when to. So for when you are reading a book in a library, what do? You make notes. You don't take notes. So that's the study time. When you are consulting an encyclopedia, what do? You also make notes. All right? Encyclopedia. When you are reading a journal, you what? You make notes. Are we together? But when you are attending a annual meeting or a lecture, you take notes. When you are listening to a documentary, what do? You take notes. When you are listening to a budget broadcast, you what? You take notes, and so on and so forth. I think I gave an assignment last week. Please, if you have done your assignment, do also submit. And if you have not done it, also ensure to submit your assignment. It's very important. Okay. So one thing you need to understand here, when it comes to notes making and notes making, is that there's a rule. And the rule is when you are listening, you take notes. All right. But when you are reading, you do what? You make notes. So we have that as that. So basically, we have it here. It says, how do you take notes from lectures? How do you take notes from lectures? Like what we have been explaining earlier, we said for you to take notes from a lecture, you need to listen carefully first, concentrate fully on the lecturer, okay? Then understand the lecturer. Do not write everything, understand the message first. A lot of us are very quick to write. Don't be quick to write. Understand the concept of the message first. Okay? That's how to take notes. Having listened, or as you listen carefully, you need to understand the lecture. Okay? Then once you understand, once you have an understanding of the lecture, then you can now write the main points. Record only important idea and supporting facts. Then you now apply abbreviations. All right. Do we understand the sequence? The first thing first, understand, all right, by listening. Listen carefully. That's the first thing. Listen attentively. That's the first thing. Then understand the lecture. Once you've understood the lecture, then you can now write out the points, the main points. Then you need to use your abbreviations to further buttress what you have there. So let's quickly consider some common note-taking abbreviations, right? Some common note-taking abbreviations. All right, so we have IE represents, that is, okay, and this represents before, okay, and this represents etc, and so on. And we have SB somebody, S somebody. Then we have VI, which is namely, to mention but a few. All right, and doing the abbreviation because you'll not be able to catch up. If you're writing everything in full, you'll not be able to catch up. So you need to use abbreviations to help you quickly. All right, summarize things. You still understand. I can catch up with the lesson. Have that as that. Now let's take a step forward. So in our last class, we talked about listening for general purpose. So real quickly, we are going to just re-emphasize a little bit on that. A little bit on that. When we speak of listening for general impression, all right, every all right. Now it says there's a listening that is referred to listening for interpretation and critical evaluation. Listening for interpretation and evaluation. I think I need to adjust this a little bit. Aha, I think it's better now. Listening for interpretation and critical evaluation. Now, when you are listening for evaluation and critical, when you're listening for interpretation and critical evaluation, it's said to be an advanced level of listening. All right. And it requires an advanced skill to do this. All right. So it's an advanced listening skill That is, listening for interpretation and evaluation, critical evaluation, is an advanced listening skill. And these skills enable listener to understand not only the speaker, all right, not only what the speaker is, it enables the listener not to only understand what the speaker is saying, but also what the speaker means. Okay? So the purpose of this kind of listening is for you to be able to interpret, analyze, and judge critically. Okay? Judge critically. So we have that the network is really unstable, and this is the reason why we could not actually hold class yesterday. You know, but you can see now it's still really really unstable. But like I usually say, we just have to do what we need to do. Okay. So now, I think our time is fast spent, and we can actually call it a wrap here for today. And in our next class, we'll take it off from reading. Okay, in our next class, we'll take it off from reading proper. Much everyone. I We apologize for the inconsistency. All right, with the network, something that is beyond. It's actually beyond us. But I believe we've been able to grab it. As we have spoken about note making and note taking, the differences, all right, and abbreviations as well, and when to take notes and where to make notes. Please, if you have missed any of all these things we have discussed in the course of this class, do also revisit the class, rewind it, and replay it. Thank you very much once again. In our next class, we are going to start from reading. Please, that will be tomorrow. Don't miss reading. Share this class with your friends, your classmates, anybody. You can always visit it by visiting the video. I wish you all the best. Please, like I said earlier, we have the private class where we encourage students to join. This is where we send you the poetry, keynote, TMA support, and a whole lot just to ensure you are fixed and set up for your semester. To join this private class, or you have any other question you want to ask us, you can reach out to us through our official website, which is coachio.com. And in the bottom left hand corner on our website, coachio.com, use the chat button, send us a direct message. I'll be happy to attend to you. To have a wonderful evening, and bye for now.